Prakash, WhatsApp audio.
Good evening, TNT family. I want to welcome you to the Yellow Ziko program. And tonight we are fortunate to have our former Minister of Legal Affairs with us here, and also the leader of the COP. And Mr. Ramadar, I want to welcome you to Yellow Ziko program on UNC USA. Are you hearing us?
Well, he's in.
Yeah, you have to unmute your mic, Mr. Ramadar. I'm not sure if he's here. He probably was hear us. So I want to welcome everyone to Yellow Ziko program on UNC USA. As soon as Mr. Ramadar gets his mic cleared up, we will continue conversation with him. We see some controversial issues here where we have a radar that's placed in Tobago, and I mean our Prime Minister is working very hard to improve our security and our border security, and there seems to be a lot of misinformation and confusion being purported out there as to why the radar is there. And I mean the United States is helping us with our security issues, our border security, our internal security. It's not the first time the US has been involved in assisting us. And I don't understand what's the big deal now. But gentlemen, yeah, you can go ahead while I try to work with Mr. Ramadar and getting him online here. Suman?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
As Doc was mentioning, and I share the same opinion. If our security is being improved one way or the other, whether it's for narcotics or the drug trade or personal security or the island security, that's always a plus. I don't see why that's an issue for some people.
Yeah, and also if it's a classified covert operation, you just can't go and divulge information there to Joe public, right? Mm, that could compromise what the US is trying to do. And if we're an ally, we have to assist, with the efforts. So
Prakash, are you hearing us? Mr. Ramadar? And for some reason I'm not hearing him. Okay, go ahead, guys.
yeah, so yeah, anything to help with the security and safety and well-being of Trinidad and Tobago is a big plus. So we should welcome, the efforts of the US there and the presence.
Definitely, man.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, no,
Yeah. I'm hearing you. I'm Ken and Doctor. Hi, how are you? And hi, guys. Haven't seen you in a while.
It has been a while. So how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just between Canada and some work in Trinidad, and I went on the islands this weekend with my kids. We had a birthday with my granddaughter and my son's birthday, so just back in from down the islands yesterday. But no,
So
I agree fully that the having worked in the national security, I'm sure you have, and I started the National Security Council for over 6 years as an advisor to the council members who are ministers, and I was privy to a number of high-level security issues as an advisor to the Security Council, and it of course was chaired by the Prime Minister at times. I don't know if Prakash is on, but I remember him chairing cabinet a few times, as well as he was present in the Security Council at times, so he would have a good idea of some of the high level security issues which we can't really divulge to the nation as a whole. There are certain high level classified information that we just can't share. with any and everyone, because the chances are, it will inhibit what we're trying to achieve. So I'm not sure how this thing got out of hand, but it needs, we probably need to pull certain key people around the table and try to let them understand what high level security means to all of us. We have in South, we have a boat that goes from Trinidad to Venezuela. I have Spanish workers who are working, who have actually naturalized. Some of them. Some of them are illegal, and every day, some days, they don't come. But this movement of people and human trafficking, it's like a norm, and it has been going on for no, I would say many years. Because I remember my dad used to say that in Port of Spain on a Friday and a Saturday, he used to have to go sometimes, with one of the white Caroni executives, when Caroni Limited was run by the British, and he used to go to Port of Spain as a driver for one of them. And on a Friday evening in Port of Spain, they used to have plenty Spanish people coming across, from Venezuela, almost like it was a normal thing. So this has been going on for
Hold for a
years.
second, Dr. Ramu. Prakash, you hearing us? Mr. Ramadan, you hearing us now? I saw him on mute, but I'm not hearing him. I don't know what's going on with his device.
Maybe you might have to reconnect and see, because
Yeah, he did, and
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, why?
Yeah.
I got
So-
Dr. Ramu.
Yeah, no. It's just that I do agree. The sentiments on the chat is that certain things have to be done in a certain way, and unfortunately, it's sad. As a small country, we have to make a decision and we have to stick by it. And we are very vulnerable as a state, one way or the other. And there are certain things that are going on, and if we don't put a stop or at least mitigate some of it, we would just be spinning top in mud. And after 5 years, you would realize that we're nowhere better than we started. So something has to be done. We have to think out of the box. We have to probably do drastic things, and I'm happy that the honorable Prime Minister has the, I wouldn't say testicular fortitude. That wouldn't really be nice, but I would say that she has the
I would
stamina
say-
and the zeal
I
to do
would
what she
say-
has to do.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of her. She listened to all of us what we had to say, our concerns about national security. We saw the bill in the parliament for the self-defense and home invasion bill passed there, and I'm hoping that we could get Mr. Ramadan's mic cleared up so he can join us in this conversation. So yes, definitely our Prime Minister is demonstrating some stamina there, and we have gotten the assistance of the United States, which is something I always encourage, over the years that we needed, definitely, Go ahead, Dr. Ramu.
No, let me just ask one thing here quickly because so apparently I just listened to the news this afternoon, and apparently the issue came up because the Tobago House of Assembly wasn't informed that this was going to take place in the island, and the Prime Minister replied and says that he wasn't in the National Council. Is that what they call it? The National Council. He was not a member of the National Council, and therefore he could not have been briefed on what was going on. That's the Tobago Secretary, I think it is. My thing is this: that I don't know why the Prime Minister didn't say that. Say yes. I was going to get some kind of excuse. I was going to get around to you at some soon as this happened, because in the National Council is very privy and we were classified and blah blah blah, and therefore I was going to get around to you in time or some reason. But I think she was saying that he is not in the National Council, and therefore the Tobago people are saying we should be there because we are Tobago and you are Trinidad. Does
Okay.
that make sense? Because you were up there, I'm Dr. Ramrup. Does that make sense? That they should have been there, or what should have been done?
Let me respond to you, Doc.
Okay.
I've been in Tobago work a number of years, well, almost 15. And I know from economist to project analyst to director of tourism to director IT and so on. I know the landscape exceedingly well. Tobago is governed by the Tobago House of Assembly Act, Act number 80. And in that act, it spells out 4 areas where the Tobago House of Assembly has no jurisdiction. And one of those areas pertains to national security. That they have no jurisdiction over that. Next thing is customs, immigration, civil aviation. Tobago does not have no jurisdiction. So the Prime Minister is absolutely correct. She is abiding
I'm
by
gonna
the
play your
law.
video and then I'm gonna introduce you. Right? Hold on a second. 1 second. So so I'm gonna put him on the phone, and because he's having trouble with the device there, so I'm gonna play the little video first, and then we will conversate with him.
Mr. Ramada, what are your views on the tensions between the United States and President Maduro?
Something has to be done to alleviate the stress and anxiety in the entire region. President Maduro, as a leader of Venezuela, you well appreciate that since your election, it has been criticized as not being fair, or that in fact there was electoral fraud involved. Apart from it, you look back several years now and you observe that the people of Venezuela have suffered under your leadership to the extent that millions had to leave Venezuela. I'm not making a comment whether it's true or not, except that if it is, that we in Trinidad and Tobago have seen so many thousands of your citizens coming here for a better life to get food and basic things. Something has gone terribly wrong with Venezuelan society. If you truly love your citizens, if you are a true leader, I'm reminded of the Solomonic wisdom, where 2 women claim to be the mother of a child. And Solomon in his wisdom says, okay, I shall split this child in 2 and you will each get a half. The true lover, the true mother said, no, let her have it. Is it too much for you, President Maduro? Is it beyond you or beneath you to say, look, if I love my country as much and it is creating all of this strife and uncertainty, let me just leave? Or is power more important to you than the well-being of your citizens? If you believe that you love more your people than you love power, then it is obvious to me that you should literally find a place to go. Thank you.
Buddy, go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. And forgive me, I do not know. The gremlins are up with the multiple devices tonight. So finally, I'm able to be in your presence. First of all, thank you for the opportunity, Gary. There have been so many occasions that have eluded us. It almost happened tonight, but you always get it done, Gary. Thank you very much. Now, it's a very interesting period. In fact, I can't imagine a more interesting period in the modern history of Trinidad and Tobago, and in fact, the region as to what is happening. For the first time, Trinidad and Tobago is in a position where many of our citizens are terrified in the belief that we will be drawn into a war or crossfire of a war over which we have very little control. And I was hearing a bit of the discussion about the radar placement in Tobago and the issue of whether the country should have been informed in advance. Dr. Ramrup, thank you very much for stating what you have. In the administration of 2010 to 2015, as Minister of Legal Affairs and sometimes Minister of Justice, and as acting Prime Minister on multiple occasions, I actually chaired National Security Council and also as a regular member. What I will say up front is discussions at National Security Council are deemed to be of the highest confidentiality, and therefore it is not the sort of thing up till today that I could speak of things I learned 10 or 15 years ago. So that's a an understanding, I think, that the country needs to appreciate that National Security Council is not an open forum for disclosure of what is discussed there. In fact, Dr. Amrup, you will confirm this. Unless different departments are invited together, discussions are held singularly with each department, and there would be no, what shall I say, contamination of the discussions unless you're invited in as a member or to participate in joint discussions. So that when something as sensitive as a radar placement is to be made in Tobago, it is not surprising to me that it was not upfront disclosed and that everything in its due course. And I'm sure there are many other things that are happening under national security that we ought not to be made aware of until things are put in place and effective. So I believe that there's somewhat of an overreaction, but at the same time, understandably so, because of the high level of anxiety. Let me also say that the United States will do what the United States wishes to do, and that many will look on and believe that we are punching above our weight to the point that we could positively influence the decisions of the United States. History has shown that America, the United States, they have their objectives and they will do whatever is necessary to achieve them. So I just wanted to put that in that context. So when I made the call for President Maduro to leave, it was my personal view that a country that was once the envy of the entire region, one of the wealthiest countries in the hemisphere, actually, one of, to have arrived to a position where millions of their citizens have fled, seeking basic things like food and shelter in other countries. And you've seen the reports of citizens in Venezuela today having lost much weight, not because they wish to be fit, because there's a lack of food, proper medical care, and so whatever the cause or reason, as a leader that went into an election that has been subject to much criticism to the point where it's been indicated that it was fraudulent and therefore not a legitimate election, why do you wish to hold on to power if it is that there's a call for you to leave? And that if you should do so, necessarily with proper arrangements put in place and negotiations, that you will bring peace, that you can bring some level of comfort and resources to your people, then there's no equation in my mind. My personal view is then you are not greater than the needs of your nation. So I just wanted to put that up front, and of course we will continue with the discussions as you gentlemen see fit. Yes.
So, gentlemen, go ahead. Anybody? Dr. Amrup, since you were
as I was...
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, as I was saying, under Act 80 of the THA Act, national security is under the purview of the Trinidad. So the Prime Minister, to say, should have informed this and should have informed that one, irrelevant. What is happening is that there's an election most likely in Tobago next month, right? And the press, in its usual, foray, combining with the PNM in Tobago, is trying to make a big issue of this, knowing fully well that under the THA Act, security remains directly under the purview of whoever is running Trinidad.
Which is the central government.
Always the central government, yeah. Now, this is on Friday, Wayne Sturge and some others went down to Tobago and apprised the chief secretary in Tobago what was going on here. So that is really a courtesy. That was really a courtesy. But again, if you stick to the act, the THA Act, 1996, it clearly states that national security, customs and immigration, and something else is airlines are under the purview of central government.
Dr. Ramrup?
Well, no. I mean, I have nothing to add in terms of that. That is quite clear. And one of the things that hopefully going forward, I mean, one of the things that I always recognize when I was in that type of environment, because I was very much involved in the integrated threat management team, because one of my officers when I was in ODPM, I think, was Captain Wint. He was the one who represented us at that level in terms of the threat assessment group, the ITAG. I'm not sure if that continued during the PNM time, but that threat assessment group pretty much would work with the National Security Council's secretariat, and the secretariat itself was tasked with managing the levels of information that would be shared, because clearly there was certain information that could be shared, but it had to be done through the secretariat in a way that it would reach certain levels in by adjusting the language of it. Yeah, one of the things that I found was a little weak in the whole system was, I'm not sure if Prakash would see the, maybe have another view, but I think levels of clearance is something that needs to be, well, I mean, as I said, I left there in 2015, because in 2016 when PNM came, they just booted us out of that whole national security framework when it came to public safety and disaster mitigation and all this sort of thing. So around 2015 when I left, I know that levels of clearance was something that needed to be introduced. And therefore, if you have levels of clearance, it really means levels of access to information and information dissemination from those high-level security meetings. If you look at the hierarchical or on-the-flying service type, if you remember the public service command with the UFS, certain methodology of communication, goes in a certain way, right? So in terms of information coming down from that system, I think the whole information management system probably didn't do well in the last 10 years. And I do feel that the chief secretary is someone that probably would have to be included in certain levels of information sharing going forward, and that certain levels of clearance would be given to key persons who work in the national security, mechanism, right? So, for example, head of SSA would have certain levels of clearance, etc. So, I mean, head of the commissioner of police, different levels of officers of the police service, fire service, prison service, different levels of officers who would report. And this hierarchical levels of clearance is something that we don't see. Access to certain rooms, for example, in the Prime Minister's office, or in the diplomatic center, or in some of the command centers that we visited when I was at ODPM, in the National Operations Center. There are certain areas where you just walk through. They might have a security guy there, but again, you needed to swipe a card, and you needed to have a red, yellow, like in the Airports Authority, you have a red, a black, and a yellow identity card. Because when I was at the Airports Authority, on the Airports Authority board, I chaired the Security and Safety Subcommittee. So in the airport itself, there are certain areas that you have no access to, depending on the barcode on your card when you swipe it. So I think that this is something that we have to have, and then people have to sign certain legal documents about information and information sharing. The reason why I'm saying this in the context of what's happening is that information is something that we need to manage. And that is why when UNC is in government, or any other party besides PNM, you have leaks of information coming in from public servants and other persons who might have access to this information, right? Once something is written or documented by minutes or by tape or by video, it has to go through some layperson, because it's the layperson who is involved in filing or coding or etc. And this is where the weakness in the system comes in, right? So I do feel that this is something that as a government now we should strengthen, because it'll come to affect us in the last year of our 5 years, where certain information will start leaking out from all over the place, right? So although we and so much, you know what I'm talking about. So it is really
Of course.
something that we need to start controlling now, and that is the highest level of security information that needs to have level of clearance. Only certain people have access to certain levels of information, right? And therefore these things shouldn't even have reached the public ears, so to speak. It should have just been, it should have, nobody should have known about this, right? The fact that somebody knew about this means that we do have weak information management systems at the highest levels. And of course, this
So that's so.
obviously,
So, Dr. Ram, that's the point. You
yeah,
see, we are in this business, UNC, USA, Gary, to win the next election. We already have one in the books, and we are only in this business because there's no sense, like we always said, just 5 years and walk away. If people in Trinidad realize that we are in it for the long haul, they're going to talk to you differently. As so many of you said in this program before, that the first year you learn, the last year you do nothing, they sit on it, so therefore you only have 3 years to work. If they take you seriously as a government in perpetuity, I mean, meaning that it's more than 2 terms. We never had no opposition other than the PNM, no party other than the PNM have ever sat there for 10 years or even 6 years. Because when Pandey got it the second time, he threw it out, they threw it away. So we are in this business because we want to win a second term. And I understand all the illegality and all the hiding behind the walls and all the quiet and all the classified and everything that you all are working with. But in the end, is the public opinion will take you to that second year. And even though the illegality, you're supposed to follow the law. I understand, yes, you're supposed to follow the law. But at the same time, if you want an election, you got to amend if need be, or work around the law. Or if the public is crying out for certain information, then we have to answer them, which is what I think Dr. Ramos ended with just now, that we need to manage these things when they are happening. It doesn't mean we're going by the law. If you go by the law and you're failing doing so, then you have to find a way to get around it. And that's my point. We are in this business to be there for a second and a third term. One term is useless because you don't do, right now you're only laying the groundwork. So we know why we are talking here, UNC USA. We want Trinidad people to win, to keep this UNC for another 5 and perhaps another 5 and many more 5s. So that is everything you all are saying. You're going by the books, going by the law, fine. But if there's public opinion going in a certain way, there's where the election is won. In public opinion, it is not won on the legal, hiding on the legalities and legalities. So that's my point on that issue. So if there is some way to get around this, because they're going to circle the wagon, and they're going to try to pin this UNC down for, especially for the next year and a half, telling them that because I'll come to Gary. There's 12 things I want to talk about at next, not tonight, but let me just ask one. Mr. Ramada mentioned something that from what he says, I understand that there's really evidence that Maduro is not democratically elected in Venezuela. And that's unfortunate because sometimes losers have all kinds of things. But I believe what he's saying that really something is wrong with the election process. So that needs to be fixed. However, we live in America, so we understand what's going on, really. But in America, the voice or the public opinion is such that they are saying, or at least branded from Washington, is that the reason why America want to do whatever they want to do in Venezuela is because narco. drugs, and that they're linking the current president with drugs. And therefore, that is their grounds for trying to save American people with too much narco coming across the border. So they're trying to cut off on the supply. No, they're not talking about, they used they used to talk about the illegitimacy in terms of the election not being whatever it is not. They're not saying that now. What they're saying no, they're saying that they're trying to change regime, they're trying to change that president and put a new president because of his narco involvement. Does that make sense, Mr. Ramada? Is the American trying doing? Does that make sense or not? In other words, I understand what you're saying, and I clearly associate with what you're saying. If they're not duly elected, then that is wrong, and something has to be done. But if the Americans are not saying that now, they're saying something else. Does that make sense to you all? Yeah.
Well, the point I opened with, it is
Yes.
not for us to judge what America chooses to do. The
Right.
United States will do what they wish to do, whatever their motives are, whatever the
Right.
rationale. That's a matter for them. What has been put in the public domain in this last iteration is a war against narco trafficking, and I do not know. And maybe I should send out to you all a release I had made when we first engaged with this, because I'm all for it. Anything to deal with narco traffickers, whether it's from Venezuela or wherever else. It has been like a toxic, caustic acid burning through the social fabric of Trinidad and Tobago and many of our Caribbean brothers and sisters islands. And I had said, is there real peace in this region? Because we know the gang warfare, the drug trafficking, the murders, and the money that flows through the banking system and the informal economy is destroying our very foundations of our civilized society. And we, as someone, Ramrup had made the point about leaks and so, many of our institutions are not trusted, the law enforcement in particular. And I remember in the 90s when the DA had a very, very, very clear presence in Trinidad and Tobago, the drug dealers and so, they were mortally afraid of them. And we know in terms of the convictions and the prosecutions of Dole Shady and so, in a large part, the DA had some hand and some help for the law enforcement in Trinidad and Tobago to have achieved those things. And I wished really to see a really active DA presence in Trinidad and Tobago, not just to deal with the drugs itself, but the money, follow your money. We have legislation that's not being properly used to go after the launderers, because it is not a local issue. It is a multinational issue, an international issue, and therefore the resources available to the United States and to other countries, more developed countries, we need all of that. Because if we allow the belief that everything is good and proper in our law enforcement, then we'll be living in a fantasy land, and we are seeing the consequence of it. The murders have kept rising, and it's not just murders, the extortion, all levels of crime, the home invasions have come from a breakdown of law and order that has, for the last 10 years, have not been manfully dealt with. So that I welcome any international assistance to deal with that fight, this multi-hundred billion dollar industry called drugs, and those things that go with it, human trafficking and all that. So I had really hoped that the region would have come together and say, look, together at this point in time, we will work together with the United States and others who are willing to fight this demonic thing. So whether it's regime change at the end of it, because there's an indictment awaiting President Maduro, and the Americans have said that this is the reason that they want him gone, so be it. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to ensure that we partner ourselves with those we have common values with, not with Russia, who have shown themselves in what they've done with Ukraine. And then we've seen, even with Venezuela, their position in relation to Guyana. So there is something, amiss with Venezuelan leadership. And whether they call it regime change or what, if you're the president and there's an indictment for drug trafficking and there's a fight against drugs, well then, we should laser focus on that. And if there are efforts made by the United States to deal with drug trafficking, we are the beneficiaries in a large part of that, because not just drugs, it's guns and everything awful that comes along with that. Now, I do not know the complete truth. I don't think anybody knows the complete truth. What we have are glimpses, and what I will tell you is that any country that left a position of one of the wealthiest in the region to one of the poorest, where the people are suffering, something has gone wrong with your society. And of course, you'll point fingers and you'll blame this and you will blame it on that. But you are the leader, at the end of which you have a responsibility to your people to ensure healthcare is maximized, food, education, infrastructure, and so are well, are well rationed. When I say rationed, well made available to the Venezuelan people. And we just have to walk through our streets and know how many are here. Why have they left their homes? And Trinidad and Tobago is a warm, welcoming place. There's only so much we can accommodate. And therefore, there are big, big questions to be answered, but certainly action need be taken. So I do not want to conflate many of the issues. What I do know is that we are all very concerned that Trinidad and Tobago is now in the crosshairs of a potential hot fire war. I'm looking now to find a way for us all to navigate through this to ensure that the people of Venezuela do not have to shed blood, or of any Trinidadian or anything like that. And if it could be avoided by the leadership saying, look, this is not as dear to me, for me to be leader, if it could bring some level of comfort to my nation. And that is why, sometimes we have to go in a modern era back to ancient wisdom. And that is why I remember in school that story of Solomon and the two women and the child. So for me, these are the things we need to look at. And it's not about sovereignty. It's not about independence, when in fact your own people have been saying that the elections, the democracy you claim to have gained power by and through, have been distorted and something has gone terribly wrong there. So it's a very human thing. If you love your people more than you love power, then the answer to me is very obvious. And if that is what will bring peace to the entire region, it's a very small price to pay for the benefit of all. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
The
you.
thing with guys, is that the country that is affected the most with this entire situation is Trinidad and Tobago. Whether it's the fluctuation of the Venezuelan nationals seeking refuge in our country, our health system is strained with it. Our the crime has increased because of it, and these are people desperate. They will sell anything for survival. So we have the right, and our prime minister has the most right to act in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, which she are doing. And whether the rest of the CARICOM likes it or don't like it, we have to act in our best interest, and that is what our prime minister is doing. For too many years, our borders were wide open. We have seen the videos that Senator Roberts and Lida has posted many times about all the ships, the vessels park up at Sturbers Bay, so I strongly believe our prime minister is within the right. And I mean, not everything in national security should and could be disclosed in the interest of securing Trinidad and Tobago. And the assistance of the U.S. is something that we had sought, and I encouraged many, many times and many years ago. When we was in 2010, there's a couple of things that I wanted to get done. We didn't get done there, but we're doing it now. And so the radar, is in our best interest. And those who are trying to instigate mischief and to try to encourage some kind of destabilization and make the people panic, should be held accountable in reference to that. Ken, you want to add anything to this at this point?
Well, look, a covert operation, you just cannot go out there and divulge information to John public, right? Um, so yeah, that has to be kept under, I mean, it's classified, obviously, right? It's an
And their
ongoing
security plan.
operation.
Right. Go ahead. Yeah.
Correct. It's an ongoing operation. We don't know what the next plan of attack is or approach is from the U.S. perspective, right? They've given Maduro an ultimatum: leave, or they're going to at least strike or some kind of land invasion or what? I don't know. So we have that information is not for John public, right? As far as Trinidad and Tobago, we are just 7 miles off the coast of Venezuela, right? The last 10 years, and you just mentioned, Gary, we have 15 Coast Guard ships sitting idle, right? While we saw or we witnessed the biggest mass migration to Trinidad from Venezuela. No other nationality from Jamaica or any of these islands, right?
And we have not
Could
only that, we
could
have had
match.
too many people gone missing from Trinidad and Tobago without a trace.
Correct,
You know?
correct. So there's no accountability. There's no vetting of these people coming in. Look, I feel sorry for the people, right? There are some people who are really trying to escape hardship there, trying to get to come and work and just survive, right? But there are others who belong to gangs like Trent de Agra, right? Who are not coming, to with good intentions, if so to speak, right? And they're involved in drugs, guns, human trafficking, and again, I have never seen this amount of Hispanics just walking around in my community where I live in Central there, right? These people are not vetted. You don't know who's a serial killer, who's a drug dealer, right? I mean, say the last 10 years, we saw the country fell into a state of decay, a total state of decay. And we have to try to fix this. The US is helping to do just that. Restoring democracy in Venezuela is going to be a big benefit for us. Now the Venezuelans can go back to their country and live with some sort of dignity, right? And hopefully the economy should thrive. It should benefit us also with regards to our energy sector, So it's a big win-win situation, and I am very optimistic with regards to the U.S. presence there and the future for Trinidad and Tobago.
Ken, may I agree with you 100% on much of what you've said. And in fact, how is it our Coast Guard, and many have spoken about this, that our main assets have been allowed to decay, most of the boats, most of the ships parked when we knew of the problems of gun running and drug running? Why was that permitted with an open border, as you rightly pointed out, Dr. Ramlo, that during COVID, we couldn't get out. And Gary, one of the reasons that I'm so respectful and admire you is the work you did during COVID for many of our citizens who were blocked out, couldn't come home, and were destitute to the point of being homeless without food. And you personally, I've been told by the victims of the government's refusal to allow them to come home, or what you did to help them survive on a day-to-day basis, right? But at the same time, when our citizens legitimately were prevented, and we had a fight to get people back in here, our southern border was wide open. Venezuelans were coming and going as they pleased. And when the airport and everything was shut down, we had to visit from the leadership of Venezuela into Trinidad, still mysterious and everything else. So there seems to have been, what shall I say, something that was inappropriate in terms of our security arrangements for Venezuela. And I ask, why is it? I'm not making a suggestion that the government of the past was participating in that, but there are agents we know at every level in society that are corrupted. And when you know that there are radars that suddenly and conveniently just go out of service for a certain period of time, and we hear, of course, of shipments coming in during that period. So therefore, there is a major mistrust of law enforcement at multiple levels in Trinidad and Tobago. And if it is that we have to have international eyes and ears and technology available to us, now is the time to make use of it. Because I repeat, in the 90s, The DA they were very effective in Trinidad and Tobago. I want to see more of that, more international agencies participating in this multinational evil of drug trafficking, gun running, and everything else. So that when are you going to do it? And what a lot of our citizens do not know, in 2010 to 2015, when we came in the government, we had no scanners on report. Your Prime Minister and National Security Council, I being a member, and many others, you might have been there, Dr. Ramro, when he instructed customs to get it done, to furnish the scanners for reports. And you would not imagine how many times we had to call them back in. There was no movement whatsoever. I think ultimately we got 2 donated from the United States, if I remember correctly. And that is how scanners came to Trinidad and Tobago. Imagine in the modern era from 2010 onwards. So I am not going to say that Trinidad and Tobago is perfect. It is clearly not. But we have to try to make it better. And if it is, then one of the greatest evils, that we are the immediate in line, the clear and present danger of the evils that come from the South American continent, land literally at our doorsteps first. And if we have not been able to succeed with the resources, billions spent in national security over the years, to staunch the flow of drugs and money laundering into our country and throughout, then this is the time. And if the Americans are willing to provide that assistance, we should welcome it with open arms. And we should not be criticized as a people for doing so. The issue, I think, has been really about there being a potential war with Venezuela. And as I repeat, Trinidad and Tobago, as much as we think, we may not be able to influence American policy as to what they wish to do. What we can do is to take the benefit that is available to us now. And for all those who say otherwise, tell me what is the alternative? Because for many years, we hear about gun trade and everything else. We hear about battling drugs, drug trafficking. But where has that taken us? Our society is rotting and falling apart from criminality. And this government, having come in on a law and order and enforcement platform, if this is the way, as unpopular as it may be to some, because there are those who do not really want to see change. They like the old status quo of everybody assuming that everything is good and hunky-dory. At the same time, now we see what's happening on our street. I, for one, am very concerned about the trajectory this country has been in for the last 10 years. We want to wait to a Haitian-like environment where gangs are taking over you know what has happened in Haiti, I don't have to repeat that. But on the streets of Trinidad and Tobago, the gangs were moving us alone to themselves. And so this is not a simple issue of just about drugs, but the rut that comes with it, the rigor of law and order. And to me, I want to tell you, if I had a partner between Russia and what they stand for the United States, I will be with the United States any day of the week. Their constitution, it's not perfect, but ours reflect in a large part the rights and the privileges, the protection of human rights, the protection of property, the protection of the right to fair trials, and everything else. That's what I want. Many do not remember that in the last several years of the PNM administration, twice Russian spy ships were allowed to dock in Port of Spain. There was no big furor about it. I wrote about it. I made comments about it. It is something that we should not allow. Russian spy ships in Port of Spain. So there has to be a resettlement of what values we want to associate ourselves with. Do we believe in liberty and freedom and democracy or something else? And so it's a very complex thing. It is not just about drug trafficking. Multifaceted, and it requires a multifaceted intelligence and an approach to fix it. There is no time like today. The old Chinese statement that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. And we have an opportunity with the American resources to deal with one major aspect of things. And when you deal with one major aspect of things, the collaterals that follow with it, you can also benefit from it. So I thank you for the opportunity, Gary. I do not know if I could add anything more.
Yeah, Mr. Prakash, what I'm concerned about and what is alarming, right, is that, we recently passed the home invasion bill in the parliament, which we were long hoping for. And the PNM tried to spin this in 100 ways than one, including making it a racial thing. It's some kind of discriminatory thing. We want to, one of the MPs, I forget the one. Anyway, his name, I just kind of lose his name right now. But anyway, the whole team, in fact, were trying to spin it that we was operating in a discriminatory manner. And I was amazed and very happy to see the response of Defense Minister Sturge in stating that he had poor people in the Scotland who were facing home invasion. And what is more alarming is that they are more threatened by law-abiding citizens getting legal firearms than the criminals roaming the country with very heavy automatic weapons. They are ready to rely on that,
Gary, it's military grade. When you see some of the videos of the weaponry, it is military grade. And that's all of these things need to be attended to. Drug trafficking and the money that comes. Gangs, it's all about the money. The gangs are there. That's what it's all about. And therefore, we've seen now law passed in this country. We have every law required, but no proper effecting of it. Follow the money. Where have you seen major prosecutions or investigations for big money laundering? We don't see that. Somebody is fueling and financing this criminality. And therefore, the issue of home invasions, let me put it clear. For those who have any doubt as to what I stand for the right of every citizen to properly be able to defend himself and his family, in particular into his home. We have so many cases, and I do not wish to repeat them, of women and daughters being raped in the presence of their father who is completely immobilized and he could do nothing. When you call the police, if at all they get the opportunity, the length of time for them to answer the phone, one, and two, if there's any response, all mayhem would have already occurred. You come here to take a register, not to pretend. Because, look, Dr. Amro, tell me, when we had the NOC operating, and they laughed and they criticized, the moment there was a crime in an area, and a report is made, the helicopter would be in the air, the patrol cars would be on the ground, and we would be able to follow criminals and capture them. After a while, there was a chilling effect on criminality because they knew full well that you could not leave one area and to go into another without some level of meeting force of the police and law enforcement. They dismantled that to the effect that, we all have personal experiences, people we know who have been murdered or friends or family. I cannot be as a citizen, as like you all are, people who love your families, to know that criminals can have unlimited access to the most deadly of weapons. And what do you have? To make a phone call when in the midst of the night, within minutes they're inside your home and do the most awful things. And you have to live, if you do, with that for the rest of your life, undefended. I am all for the right to bear arms, for those who are legitimately entitled in the sense of training, to have the mental capacity, you name it, whatever the criteria, that once you fulfill it, you have the right, and therefore the state has to provide that opportunity to you. So that lawfully, there are many cases I have done over the many years of law-abiding citizens living in areas, in particular in the rural areas, victims of crime with no consequence at all, murders, rapes, whatever. And they went and they bought guns illegally because they figured I had no choice. It's either I get a gun or I'm a victim, my wife, my daughter, my family will be victims of the most awful things. So we need to reset these things. So all the hysteria about home invasion and so, until we have a system where there's no crime, then every citizen has a duty to be able to protect themselves and their family.
And the amazing thing, Prakash, is that the police will reach first for those persons who buy a gun to protect themselves than the criminals.
That's the point. Many of them were prosecuted.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was a hardware owner or landlord. I think it was the landlord. Yeah, he faced a brother. Now I'm seeing an article here with Annalisa Paul that I'm posting on the screen here now. You may not be able to see it. And they are trying to enforce the fact that the commissioner of police should be the only one to sign off on an FUL. that is impossible to maintain in order to and to work effectively, because there is no way in the demands that we have that one person with their best intentions can meet that demand. So what we are proposing is that like how here in the United States, our municipal chief of police, which will come under the senior superintendent of a jurisdiction in Trinidad. So we are saying that the senior superintendent can assist and should be qualified and designated to sign off on an FUO and a person getting an FUO. And that information can still go to the state level, but the fact that he will be, so the workload does not come to the commissioner alone, and you don't have to wait to 20 years for the commissioner to go through all those applications. What we have 100,000 applications right now.
Well, let me just tell you this, and I'm grateful for the gentleman. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing, so I don't know who, but he made a most valuable point. A government to make fundamental change requires more than one person. Absolutely correct. Because without breaching any confidence, the Prime Minister Kamala Persad gave instructions years ago when we were in government to convert, or at least start the process of looking at converting the Firearm Fields Board to the Firearms Board. So that the police in the local areas, of course, will do their investigations, and if a person is deemed fit and proper, send that report to the Firearms Board that will be populated sufficiently. And if there's good reason to reject it, then so be it. But if there's no good reason and the police reports come in, then they should be granting the licenses. The commissioner himself, you're quite right. He has so much to do rather than being a bureaucrat and a signing agent, just signing off on things that the reports say, yes, we should. And then what? On what discretion does he exercise to say, no, I will not? Once the report come in, that proper investigation this person is entitled to and have fulfilled all the requirements, that should go to the Firearms Board and for them to issue the licenses, not leave it into the hands of one singular person, because they do their jobs in terms of the police, that is, in terms of the investigation. So that was work that had already been started. But of course, the election had come and that fell in abeyance. So that's something that needs to be revived, to take the burden off the Commissioner of Police himself. So that your suggestion is in complete accordance with that thinking that the Prime Minister then had agreed to.
Right. So, we wasn't aware of that. So, Ken,
this is the thing. That brings me to the point that we had started earlier. Those are cabinet discussions.
Right.
Because of the passage of time and so on, it was stated publicly in the past. So therefore, there's no confidentiality that I'm breaching now in saying it. But it's an idea that is worthy of furtherance now that his government is back in the saddle to do these things. There's so many things that we have started that could not have been completed in the time frame for many reasons, some good, some bad. But there was always that so much to do, so little time. And really, as the gentleman rightly put it, you need at least 2 terms to make fundamental change. So, look, we have a country to fix. We have a future to prepare. And the only way we're going to prepare it is by doing the right things now. So that this discussion here, I hope it will fall into the laps or into the awareness of those who now have the authority and responsibility to further work that is sitting in the ministry somewhere, in a large part prepared. So this is just one, and there are many other areas that we can talk about moving forward of things we have started but not able to have concluded.
Right. Well, it was rather unfortunate that we were unable to keep government going into the second term, and I have some concerns based on what I saw happen there. With the sitting prime minister not notified about the ABC decision to extend the voting time, and there were a lot of information about interference with the votes, and that's something to be investigated. But I want to continue to use this platform to educate citizens so they don't buy into the misinformation, because there is, the media seems to be working on behalf of those who are trying more so to derail the government. And we have seen, we know, our Prime Minister personally, and we know that she has the best intentions, and what she did in the previous term, was in the best interest of our citizens. Look, they gave out the laptops to the kids. We've seen that recently, where and we saw that taken away by the previous government. And there's so many things that she had put in place, as prime minister.
Gary, could I, if you permit me this, I don't know how much
Please.
longer we have.
We
with
have as
you.
much time as you can spare, but I want you to come
Alright,
back again because we have a lot of grounds to cover, dealing
Alright.
with other things that we want to continue with. So I mean, thank you for being here today.
But I just wanted to make a point before I leave you now, and thank you in advance. Do you know everybody has spoken about we need to transform the economy away from oil and gas reliance? What and the story not being properly told and in media and so, because good news is never news that sells. Bad news always does. Controversy is the fuel for sales. Have we forgotten that between 10 and 2010, 2015, that we had put in place, and they demonized the children's hospital. They demonized the swimming academy, the cycling academy.
They denied the 106 school. They went in parliament. These are sitting concrete structure. They tried to deny they existed.
And Dr. Gobi Singh was able to show them, name it, and show them pictures. Now, I wanted to make a point. You remember when it was announced that we opening an airport at Camden and Hoover? They laughed. Little did they know, because they didn't wish to hear or acknowledge, that the grand plan since then was this, that we wanted to bring in the international sports teams. We had the cricket academy that would have been completed there. We have all the stadia right around in Central. And we wanted to bring in international teams as sport tourism. And we're talking about world-class teams for training and practice, swimming, field, track, and you name it. But none will come unless you have a world-class medical facility right close by. Dr. Ramu will tell you that. And that was a world-class institution intended not just for the children, not just for our burn center, but to provide that comfort for all those high-level teams and their owners and managers, that if anything should go wrong, we had the best of world-class medical attention available. The airport wasn't for 747s or just, they were for private jets. The owners, the managers, the world-class athletes who would come. And Sevilla, one of the most beautiful places in Trinidad and Tobago, was intended to be a 5-star hotel with world-class golfing and so. When we had the vision for the South Campus, it was to take a lot of the strain off St. Augustine, open it up for the students and their parents of Central and South Trinidad, and to create offshore schooling for medicine. Dr. Ramu, you might be able to tell us more when we had partnered with Johns Hopkins to make
Yes, we did. I remember that. Yeah.
Centers of excellence in healthcare, so that the entire region, instead of having to look to go to England or to the United States or wherever, many of whom couldn't afford the US dollars, many of whom couldn't get visa to go, the government paying for a lot of their medical care, would have come to Trinidad and Tobago. So by today, and I'm just giving you a little inkling of the vision that we had actually not just spoken about, but put into place. And when we lost the election in 2015, right, all of those plans were put asunder. I mean, they allowed the South Campus to fall into ruins. We have to find money now as a people to restore that. How many schools are...
You see, Mr. Ramada, that's my concern, because I'm worried, but all these beautiful things that are going to happen, and then 5 years after, you don't get the second and the third, because that was all. You mentioned it before. What alternative do you have? The alternative is you could also do nothing, which is their alternative. So my concern really is that second, I'm talking about second 5 years, whatever we do from here on is that second and third 5 term I'm referring to, or else you'll go back to zero. You'll never get off zero, because that 10 years that you all should have been in that is the lost decade. That's a lost Trinidad decade that they could never recover. So Trinidad have gone back. We used to be great. In Trinidad used to be the greatest in the West Indies and many parts of the world. We are down the hill. We are way down. Look at the data. You'll show you. You talk about but we need to, the campus and all those great things that are happening. You all did so many great things and many things to come. But if you don't hold on to that power, there is no sense. So that is was my major issue a while ago. I continue to do the same thing. So go ahead, sorry.
Correct. And how do we do it? I agree it's a lost decade, but it really is a lost future. Because had those initiatives been grounded and matured, then the thinking of the country would have changed. We'd have had a very different society today, a more peaceful, prosperous one, not reliant on a ever diminishing oil and gas environment. We would have brought home our children, the best of our minds when they go away, don't wish to return because they have little opportunities, apart from which infrastructural development here remains very low level when we've seen other societies in one generation what they've been able to do to make it, something that the young people will be proud of and wish to retain and return. So these are the things. So having said that though, the most important question really is how do we, having won an election, continue to have the good graces of the population to ensure we have a second term? And a lot of it is to ensure that some of the wrongs, nothing is perfect. Some of the errors are not highlighted in such a way to demonize all of the good. Because, a friend of mine told me many years ago, I found it very profound in its learning, that a glass of water with one drop of poison becomes a glass of poison. So we have to ensure that no poison is allowed into our government so that it could be pounced upon and highlighted as if it is all bad. No, there is nothing perfect. Errors will be made, miscommunications will occur, and therefore we have to take a very, very focused approach, looking at the next 5 years, not that you just won, and therefore it is about electioneering only, and therefore winning next election, but you have to earn the right to it, and to communicate properly with a vision that will give a sense of hope and comfort to the population, not just a iffy, wishy kind of thing, but a blueprint. I love the term when we use blueprint, because blueprint is really a plan mapped out with timelines for achievement. And once you do that and you bring the country into your confidence, that they trust what you say because you actually do it and let them know step by step what you do. I think that is in a large part important and necessary for a second term. And the reason I speak to this, I could not agree with you.
Hello?
Sounds like we lost him a bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the audio is bad on my end. Anyone else have any problem?
Well, I just replied to you. You were off, but you're back on.
Yeah. Sometimes it's
Come on.
it's dropping. Yeah.
Yeah, but we lost our
Yeah,
Prakash.
I mean,
Well,
Prakash. Yeah, but Trinidad needs to upgrade. They're getting there. They need to upgrade. So
Yeah, he was in a location. I guess there was some kind of technical issue.
Yeah,
but,
they need to upgrade.
But,
yeah,
well,
we go ahead, gentlemen, make your comments.
But that makes Prakash
Dr.
point
Parum
because
here just joined us also. Dr. Parum is here.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Parum, how are you? I don't think he's tired. Let him take a rest. Yeah, we are. Prakash is Prakash is you're hearing like it is, man. The guy is good.
Well, I mean, we got a good source of information. He was a minister who held many positions. Minister of Legal Affairs. He functioned in the Ministry of Justice. So he even acted as prime minister a few times. So there was a lot of trust and
Yeah,
confidence from our prime minister with him, right?
many times, yeah. When I was there, he chaired cabinet. Sometimes I had to go there, and he was chairing, until the prime minister came. But one of the things that we have been saying over and over, and I think Doctor, you're saying, you're correct, is that we have to always keep a focus on what are the elements
Smart, you keep dropping out. Go ahead, Doc. Yeah.
that the government and the party has to concentrate on keeping power, right? Because in addition to what they are doing, and we are suggesting that they start or they should keep doing it all the time and focusing on that, because that's one of the key issues. You might do all the good things, and this is what Dr. Maraj is saying. We can do all the good things, but if we don't concentrate on what is required to keep us in power, you might very well find a repeat of what is happening, what is going, what happened in the last time we lost the elections. So I want to just reinforce that focus. I think that there are certain things that what Prakash was saying. There are certain things that this government really needs to enforce, not just for what they're trying to do in terms of reducing crime or whatever, but is also in trying to keep governance, right? And we keep saying it over and over in the program. There are few things that we just have to do. And one of the things that I am saying is that what kills us a lot is, I like to divide it up into two: intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic to the government is the government itself, and of course the party itself. And I think a lot of it is something we talked about. One, today we talked about, what I suggested is that they have to prevent leaks, right? And because leaks are going to come in the last year and a half, right, where people are going to be giving information to the media, to the Facebook, social media, and they're going to be coming up with things that could be damaging to the government. Sometimes it might be confidential issues and whatever. So in order to control leaks, we have to have a whole of government, right, level of clearance when it comes to information and access to information. This is also important in controlling and process, what we call process mapping. In other words, then if 2,500 people have a certain level of clearance and a certain type of information gets out from that level of information, it means that one of those 2,500 or some of it are responsible, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's a way of controlling leaks. And one of the things that is a big risk to this government is leaks, right, to the public. And that leak will come from PNM persons who are interested in affecting the government. The second thing is intrinsically, is how we respond to the questions of the media and the public on all forms of communication, whether it's social media or traditional media. And therefore, a lot of training has to go in what we call crisis communication and risk management. Crisis communication and risk management. How do you answer things? How do you respond to questions? And this is why, if every Tom, Dick, and Harry is responding to everything the press asks and everything social media, then we're gonna have a problem, right? You have to have a good public relations process, and it has to be certain tiers of information vetting. And crisis communication is how a minister or a key person responds immediately to a question. These type of questions are not there. There are universities and there are courses that teach people, right, what to do, and say, in crisis management and crisis communication. It's not something that you pull out of a hat. It's not something that you become a public servant or a person in the community, and then all of a sudden you're elected as a minister or a parliamentary secretary, and you get that skill almost immediately. You don't, right? Talking on a political platform is no skill set to crisis communication and crisis management. So what's going to kill the government is crisis management and crisis communication, and how they respond to questions in the public domain, right? And that is something that they have to be trained in, and certain people have to respond, and certain key processes have to be embedded to vet messaging and to vet the language that comes out, right? So that risks can be reduced to a minimum. Things like banana and monkey and all of those things, we have to be very careful when you see they start coming out in the last year, because they're gonna kill us. You see, and one of the things is that if you have a good crisis management team, you would find that nobody should be able to put up a TikTok with the honorable prime minister saying, "Well, we have to share things with Tobago. And if you don't do that, that's really bad. And Tobago is very important." And then on top of that video, they're saying that the Honorable Prime Minister is saying that they didn't need to know. So right away, that type of contradicting statements, we have to be very careful going forward, right, in our research. And therefore,
But
you have to have a whole department of young people who are looking for jobs right now, sitting down in a room and starting to screen all of those videos, so that before that video even hit TikTok, right, we already knew that it was coming. And that is not something that we cannot do. We could do that. And I'm not seeing it as yet. I am saying that if we don't do these things and adapt to the fourth industrial age in terms of communication and AI, then we are going to go down again after 5 years. You see? So there are a number of other things, and that is just, I mean, to cut a long story. There are other things that I can add, but those two things that I'm saying: one, level of clearances, because if you do an algorithm, Suman, if you do an AI,
Yes.
check, you will see that one of the biggest risks we have as a government is leaks, right? That's one. Two, one of the biggest risks we have as a government is people saying the wrong thing at the wrong time, and the wrong people saying the right things, or the wrong people saying
Right.
the wrong things, and you don't have a process in which information is being sent out, right? And proper vetting and clearance, and the language has to be edited and vetted, right? Where every time they can feel that they can go out and say something because they're good in a political platform, it doesn't mean that they're good at crisis communication and crisis management.
Yes.
So I think that if I had to just use those two indicators, or those two elements of a government in power, this is what PNM has to a large extent. PNM has an institution. PNM party is an institution. When you pay your dues in PNM, you actually support the party, because part of your dues goes towards the party. Some of your salary goes towards the party, right? In other words, then they have an institution, not just financial, but they have an institution that is chaired with race and genetics and everything that you could think about, hereditary. People are born PNM, right? So therefore, in a sense, what we have to do is we have to try to develop that own institution. And therefore, one of the biggest problems that I had when I was, in the party, which probably caused some of the problems I'm having now in terms of being, alienated or put aside among some of the others, is that we were saying that you need to institutionalize the UNC. It should be a party that comes together for elections, and then when the elections come, you put the whole of NATEX in political positions, and then the party is left to run itself. You see, so therefore we must have a
Void. There's
party.
a big void right now in the
Yeah, even while
yeah.
government is there, you have to have a party. So you have to begin to institutionalize it whilst it is in government. And therefore this institutionalization of the party, right, means that you have to treat the members as members and give them member benefits, right? And this is where things like welfare and access to movie town and a 10% discount at UNC, a big business people, and you know what I mean. These are things that you have to start doing now. Invite certain people to the diplomatic center for functions, not just the friends of the ministers. You see, so I think that what we have to do is we have to look at all of those things, because those are the things that will come back to kill us. And Dr. Maraj asks the question, what are some of the things that we need to do to keep us in power? And these are some of the things that caused us to lose power in the last election. So we know it. It's just that for some reason people are not taking it seriously, and they still feel that performance beats old talk anytime. It doesn't. Performance, you could do the best of performance in a hospital. You could treat all 10,000 patients every day with good health care. And if you don't have good customer service and you don't have good patient satisfaction programs, then one stupid thing will happen and it will just throw down the whole healthcare system. So this is just my piece, for at least for tonight.
Let me just add to what you're saying there, Dr. Rambo. The I submitted a 14, I think a 12-point plan to you all sometime before. It's really a counter to how to answer the opposition for what they're saying. And I was making the point that we are from America, really, and we're not supposed to be saying the same thing that Trinidad people are saying. We're supposed to be saying that plus other things. So it's that plus other things I want to get across. For example, to add to what you just said, Dr. Ramrup, two things are bothering me. Well, in fact, there were three things, and you mentioned some of them. One is the party as it is now, when they came together, was called a coalition of interest. We have to want somebody, UNC USA could do that for them, monitor progress and advise them accordingly. Number two, succession planning. Our beloved Prime Minister. There will be a succession because we're talking about 2015. We're talking about 3 or 5 terms to come. Or women would know, at least 3. We have to have succession planning, and we got to stand. And the third thing, you mentioned it also, but didn't delve into it, was how do we train our people to answer John Public or the anti-elements, anti-UNC elements, which there are still a lot, and there will be a lot for a while. Until you win the next election, it might go away, it might get less and less. So those 3 points are UNC USA or anybody, external body should be advising the party, because we're supposed to be looking at the Trinidad party as I was schooled in the PNM school. So I understand how the PNM do their thing, and that's why I beat them in Arima. So I know the school. I know they have, in fact, they still have the school going on, and they train their people. The first thing they do is to go to the communities and they take power at the school level, at the county council level, at the town level, at the national level. They take power at the ground levels. Just the other day, someone mentioned to me about something in Palmis that there's growing weed on the roadside, and they shouldn't send a picture. My crap. What is, don't look for the government and look at what the government do, but what is your homeowners association doing about it? What are your pressure group? What are your village councils? What are they doing? Is that kind of a consciousness to keep you for the next, what is to be done for the next 5 and 15 years? You cannot win an election and then every 6 months have to come together and win again. That is why I'm really raising these 3 points for us to continue to focus on. Monitor the coalition of interests without they knowing it. Succession planning without she knowing it. And school for training for our members of the party so that they stay in power in perpetuity. And I will leave it with that, Dr. Ramrup. I don't like to talk too much, but
why
sometimes I do.
Why you don't like to talk too much? You have nobody's restricting you here. Please talk.
Yeah, I don't want to bore you with you. I already offload tonight already, so.
All right.
So you got my drift. You understand, Ramrup, Dr. Ramrup? That coalition of interest is bothering me. It's not bothering me, but I want to monitor it.
Yeah,
The succession planning, I want to monitor it, and the training of the volunteers and the party members to be in power at the block, at the community level, at the village council level, at the town level. Because that is the way you become institutionalized, Dr. Ramrup, as you mentioned so many times.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'll tell you something else, Doc. You're right on point, but from the outside, you can see a lot of things that is happening inside. But when
Right.
you're inside at the bottom of everything, you don't see it. So, like all the ministers and the technocrats and the advisors who are on the ground here, they don't see it like that because we on the outside now, we can look at it objectively and say, yes, these are the shortcomings. This is what needs to be upgraded or you monitored more closely. But who is there in the inside who is are not aware of that? So there is relatively little or no action is being taken.
Well,
Yeah, Carlos Gilbrand.
I did
Yeah.
designate our team as a team committed to watching the Prime Minister back, number one. Right? Number one, we protect the Prime Minister and we bring necessary information to her attention so that she does not get blindsided. That is the commitment I personally made to her. That is the commitment I committed UNC USA to notifying her as we function as a risk management team, quality control. So we have, when we see something we feel is necessary to, do not shy away in saying it, bring it to her attention. What she does with it from there on is up to her. But the fact that it is, I do not want her at any time for any of us to see something that we should have said and don't say it. Go ahead, gentlemen.
But when we discussing sensitive matters, that when she might be a candidate in the discussion, we have to keep her out. I know what you're saying about what I'm talking about something a little different. But I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. But I'm talking about something a little different.
Well, I am talking about standing with her
Right.
until
I agree
she
with
makes
you.
a decision. She is no longer
Right.
wants to be leader. That's is up to her. But as far as I'm saying is, my team, as far as I am concerned, remains committed to her and will not exclude her in anything that she needs to know.
Right.
Correct.
But beyond, you see, beyond her, I'm concerned about beyond her.
All right, I understand your concern.
After Kamala is what?
Okay, all right. So then we will deal
That's
with
what
that
I'm
at that time.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Okay, but what I'm saying to you, at this current stage, the
Yes.
focus is to
Yes.
make sure that she has the necessary information
No,
so she
that's
does
fine.
not get blindsided. All
That's
right,
fine. But
because
I'm a little,
everybody
I'm,
jumping
but I'm a little
around.
high up. I'm a little more distant than that. So I understand. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to focus, and that's how we could keep her in government, is that we make sure that she does not get targeted unnecessarily with things that could have been prevented. And while we're looking out for the country, I am here to watch her back. That is my commitment.
Okay.
So you there?
Yeah. Anybody else? No. And
So like if
where's somebody left? Right.
something
Ken, how are you,
Um,
Ken?
Gary, look, I just want to just recap, with the FUL process, because it's very important that we fix that whole system there, which is flawed, because that will complement the stand your ground legislation, right? We are limited. One person is limited in terms of capacity. So there's a capacity constraint there. You have
Yeah,
one man.
it's not humanly possible for anybody with the
Correct.
best intentions.
So that is something we have to go and look into and fix that flawed system there, right? Now, we also spoke about the future and the next 5 years. And I will say it very clearly here, right? We need to focus on the marginal constituencies. And I would like to suggest we have a special team just focusing on those marginal constituencies and addressing, measuring what we're doing there, how we're doing it, and the performance, how we're performing in those marginal constituencies from now. And that will take us into the next general election, right? We can't be all over with these marginals. We have to pay, not that I'm saying to neglect the base, The base is going to be taken care of, but the marginal constituency is our make or break. And we need a special team to focus on those marginals to
Yeah, well,
ensure
Ken,
that it stays
that
with
is why
us.
I made a commitment to Toko Sandegrande to make sure, as one of our marginals, in that we were not there to win the election. I was there to make sure that the service was delivered. We would assist the MP and the corporation in best, which we already doing. You've given some commitment. You met with the farmers, and you're lending your expertise in resolving the flooding issue. So we are already doing that.
Correct, correct. But we also have to look at the other constituencies, also the marginals, and build on that, at the same time. So yeah, so that's what I want to say in closing. So, but
Right. If we get the collaboration from those MPs, I mean, I've reached out many times. Not much, response. But I mean, with MP Sturgey, he's very effective in responding and remain engaged with me. So I've given the commitment. He knows where I'm at in assisting him and the constituency. We have gotten some collaboration with the borough corporation, the regional corporation there, where the guys are communicating. The chairman and the deputy chairman is working with us, and we recently helped them with that Diwali program, which turned out to be exactly what we wanted it to be, and I was hoping for it to be, and so we're making some progress in that area. But there are other constituencies that I want to be able to get the communication flowing with those MPs. I mean, Kumoto Manzalina, I have reached out and hasn't been successful there. But hopefully down the line they would find a way that we can work together. I will keep trying on that, because Kumoto Manzalina is right next to Toko Sandegrande, and we will have to include Kumoto Manzalina in the plans.
Because there's going to be an infrastructure overlap there also.
Yes. So definitely we need some communication with the MP. I'm going to keep trying. So that aspect, I haven't been able to reach the Labrie and Point 14 MPs as yet. But the guys are doing some magnificent work down there. But we definitely want to be able to reach them. And you, Suman, Dr. Ramov is physically there, so I am, depending on you guys.
I reached out to one of the MPs today, and I mentioned
the response was good, right?
Response was excellent, and I told them that if they need my assistance with the flooding, the traffic congestion, and so forth, and he said yes, we need it, and so we're going to be having some discussions down the road.
Yeah.
Because
so,
again,
please move forward. And
yeah,
you and I
definitely, because
yeah,
because we are also just not thinking about only fixing, but we are also thinking about the future and the next 5 years.
planning,
next term.
right? Yeah, definitely.
Yes, of course, and that starts yesterday. So we have to hit the road running, ground running, and ensure that these things are taken care of. So that's what I have to say for tonight. Sumad, you guys.
So we also saw Suman, this is more along your end here. Let me just play this video here. Go ahead, Suman.
Yeah, that's our famous laptop project, which brings back my memories. I did that project way back for them. And today they were in Tobago distributing over 1,000 laptops. That's the Minister of Education, Dr. Dowlett, was in Tobago today. And, but like everything else, you see, the press is one of the biggest bugbears for the UNC right now. They don't highlight the things that should, in my opinion, be highlighted. They highlighted the radio issue, make it a big issue.
No, they're busy attacking the Prime Minister. That's what they're busy doing.
And the Prime Minister is damn right, because under as I mentioned before, under Act 80, THA Act 80, for Operation Soul, which is the Prime Minister, is fully authorized to do whatever she wants in the areas of national security. She don't have to inform anybody if you choose not to. You know, so she's well within her rights, and the press knows that. The PNM2 representatives in Tobago who were defeated knows that as well. But they're making that.
How difficult it was with Dr. Rowley to get information, you know, and his administration.
No, but I want to know, where were they when Delcy was come flying into Trinidad and Tobago all the time? How come they never approach him for answer or question him? So you see, the press, the publicity, the PR, the communication, these things need to be aggressive to ensure that the message, the correct message, gets out there.
You know, Suman, if I could get the funding to hire, you know, to give a little stipend to a little group of young people who's interested in communication, to work on behalf of our channel there, that would be magnificent. You know, I really like to get that done. You know,
yeah, that's a good move, Gary. But
yeah, I mean, we just need a team committed there. You know that you know that will be at the parliament, be at this press conference, and you know, and represent our channel there. You know, that's something is part of the objective. I'm looking for help on that aspect.
So the laptops today, which is being given out, has an AI component. So it's not the basic laptop that was given out before. It's an AI-driven solution type of with programs in it. For example, if you're doing mathematics and you're stuck on a problem, and you call up on AI, and it helps you, shows you step by step how to resolve the problem. Now, that has both advantages and disadvantages. I don't know if you all may have read in the US that MIT did 2 years research work on AI. And it says that with the introduction of AI, a lot of people have lost the ability or are quickly losing the ability to think. They're becoming so dependent on AI and ChatGPT and DeepSeek and all the other programs that since that is providing the solution for you, people are just not thinking more. But so that, like everything else in life, there's always a negative and a positive side. But AI, I think in the school, the computers being given out for this fiscal. With the AI component, I think it's very solution oriented in that whenever students have issues or problems that, long ago when they had that, they had to go to school the next day and ask the teacher. And so right now you can have that at the tip of your fingertip. So you could be at home at 9 o'clock in the night and you get stuck with a math problem. You can find a way to solve it.
And you see, so man, that is why I write in questions. So they cannot find it, the AI cannot find it because it's not there yet. The solution to the question I'm writing, which I did yesterday, cannot be found on the internet yet. It will be found after. Mm-hmm. But right now, I have to write questions in such a way, and the teachers in Trinidad would know that you have to write questions in such a way that you don't deprive them of the AI. You allow them to use the AI, but you also challenge them beyond what the AI can help them with.
And that is what I was saying, exactly what I was saying. You don't want them to lose the ability to not be able to reason or to think or to solve problem solving. Yeah. You don't want them to become so dependent on AI that they forget how to rationalize things or come to.
Well, that's where Dr. Maharaj has some value. He has some work yet cut out for him. He can participate in that. So I mean, look, we have a fully multifaceted, all-inclusive team here. with so much variety of capabilities, from the engineering part, Sumant with his technology and finance, and Dr. Maharaj and his finance and teaching technology. We have Dr. Ramrup in so many multiple skills and capabilities here, from medical, the emergency preparation, response, disaster, medical response, the ambulance care and response. So, we have a full-fledged team here. And I just want to show this. I think this is where the was that, is it the CPO? I think that was assisting, that they were waiting on for the approval of the 10%. Let's take a look.
So it's spread with polar consolidation for the both triennials.
Can you explain that to us again? So it's two negotiating periods.
There's two periods. One period is 2014 to 2016. The other is 2017 to 2019. The distribution of the percentage is 1% in 2014, 1% in 2015, 1% in 2016, 1% in 2017, 1% in 2018, and then 5% in 2019. There's polar consolidation for both triennials. So the net effect is about 15%, because when I consolidate polar, the salary increases.
Now, you said that they it links the past with the present in harmonious
It's reading.
From Amman, they would do it same, but
Shorter. A bit shorter. So like the reading I did is that
My name is Fahad Al-Gharbi. I'm the Undersecretary for Nursing.
Calypso
So,
will have
gentlemen,
Calypso will have a lot of stuff to write to sing about. I mean, this Sheikh, some of these guys just in Sheikh costume, and your minister of works dressed up in the hijab. Excellent, very good.
well,
What the hell is this?
they are on the job. They are hard at work. They all the way in the Middle East, sourcing investment
Right.
for our country. So our people are not sitting down. They are hard at work. So
In
when
the hijab,
they
in
had
the Arab,
they
in the Arab
adjusted
headpiece.
to the country that they went to. It's just like when we have our national holiday, everybody gets mixed up in whatever dress outfit that is of the culture. But so they did what they had to do. They are in. I'm not sure if they return yet. In the Middle East, there. Seeking our interests and working very hard. If you notice, this government is moving fast-paced in comparison to the previous government, and they're getting a lot done in a faster pace. And because we do have, I like to make the point that we're not coming from ground level. We are coming from underground level because of the level of destruction the PNM did to our financial system and everything else. So I know finances, Dr. Maharaj and Sumant, also you guys want to jump in and state on comment on that part of it. Feel free to go ahead, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think that visit, because when I saw the blueprint, I saw that as Abu Dhabi and those kinds of blueprint that the minister works. I suspect that a country like Abu Dhabi, she has to visit, or one of those other smaller, I forget, Saudi Arabia, not Abu Dhabi came to mind, but I think there's somewhere else, one of the other countries around it, one of the UAE countries.
think
So I thought since they're modeling these people, it'd be nice to invite them in because they have built structures like those that we saw in that video that the Minister of Works put out. I thought that is a place they would go. I think Singapore has something of that, Japan has, and China has some of those kinds of things. And of course, indeed, those smaller Arab countries there that have lots of tourists, and they cater for the tourists. So as this minister said, that in time to come, Trinidad will not be the same. You'll not be. I think they said it will be unrecognizable, and I guess she meant it in a good way, because if they allow the PNM, it will be unrecognizable too, but in a bad way. So,
You're right, Doc, but remember.
Look at this other one here. This is more related to Ken.
This is one of the most dangerous structures in America, and few know what could happen if it failed. Did you know that the Hoover Dam holds back enough water to drown an entire state? It's one of the most powerful engineering creations in human history, and also one of the most feared. Built during the Great Depression between the borders of Nevada and Arizona, the Hoover Dam changed everything. It turned deserts into cities, powered millions of homes, and gave birth to Las Vegas itself. But behind its massive concrete walls lies a secret that most people never think about. Inside, there's enough pressure to tear steel apart. The dam holds back the entire Colorado River, 3.3 million cubic meters of water pressing against it every single second. If it ever collapsed, the result would be catastrophic. A wall of water would roar down a canyon, destroying towns, bridges, and lives within minutes. Experts say Las Vegas and everything around it could vanish beneath a flood of unstoppable power. Even now, the dam trembles slightly under the force it contains. Engineers monitor it day and night, knowing one small failure could trigger disaster. And deep inside, there are tunnels, silent, dark, and dripping, where workers once died building this giant. They say their ghosts still echo in the walls. The Hoover Dam isn't just a monument of progress, it's a reminder that even our greatest creations can turn against us.
So here's a multifaceted, multi-purpose project and structure that we could build in Trinidad on a smaller scale.
Definitely.
All right, Ken? So
Definitely, Gary.
This is what I'm thinking along the line, for especially for the Caroni River and what was that? The Oropouche River up front. Suman, what by you there? Which one is this? Oropouche River, right?
Yeah.
And then we have the Guaracara River. I guess kind of loops in somewhere there too, right? So, Ken,
well, it will also help with the flooding, also, right?
Yeah,
we can use it not just as hydroelectric, but as storage capacity.
Right.
And also,
so electricity,
freshwater
flooding,
reserves,
water storage, everything.
Strategic freshwater reserves during droughted conditions. So you remember last summer we had issues with the dam, right? It was below average levels. So with climate change, we are going to see and experience the extremes. So we have to think strategically and plan for the next 20, 30, 50 years, right? Rainfall intensity will definitely increase. And we're talking about flooding, we're talking about mass storage. But Gary, we could do so much. Yeah. We just had to put our minds together, bring the right people, right resources, expertise, and we can get it done.
Hey, Ken, let me ask you something. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Let me ask Ken a question. Hold on. Who's that? Gary?
Yeah, go ahead. Go with the question. Go ahead.
So we who are non-engineers kind of have all kind of ideas, but they're not. When they put it to the engineer, it doesn't make sense. So since I was growing up in Trinidad, there were really two reservoirs. There's one in the north and one in central south, somewhere like Tabaquite. But I always felt, how could a Tabaquite reservoir service Bonas Cedros with the kind of soil that you have, with so much level as the depth that you go down, and the unsteadiness of the soil in Trinidad, especially at the higher levels, not deep down, higher levels, and that you planted a pipeline in that kind of soil, not deep enough where it can be steady enough, then you're going to continue to have a problem of breaking pipes and leakages. So that's my first question, and I could think about it. The second one was, I always thought that we needed more than 2 reservoirs. It's because I think that with a growing population and so on, we should have more reservoirs in the country, like 2 or 3 or 4, maybe, I don't know how many. So that's a short one. That's the easier one for you to answer. But the first one, what about the first one? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, with the pipes breaking, right? It shows that you need proper pipe support. But maybe we need to change the type of pipes. We could use HDPE, right? It is used here in the United States, and some might say it's expensive. But I think when you look at the return on investment, right? We need to switch out some of those pipes that WASA is using and start adopting and using the HDPE pipes. So that is the probably answer your first question, because the HDPE
No,
is
but wait, what would the depth? What would having it not burying it deep enough, because at the high levels the soil washes away. There's movement, friction, and therefore if you're not deep enough, it will break every day. So it has to be a certain depth. That's my question also.
It has to be a certain depth. That is correct, right? As far as how we do things now, I think that whole system needs to be revised and revisited, because we are losing a lot of our potable water through leaks, and the infrastructure is crumbling. We're playing catch up, and we're patching and putting a plaster here and there. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle. So we need to have a good grid system, right, of water distribution. As far as evaporation, right, with climate change, the intensity of the sunlight, I mean, some people have been saying, hey, you go outside there and that sun is just killing you, you have to run back inside, right? The solar intensity and what we experiencing now is different from 20, 30 years ago, So we are going to be experiencing the extremes in terms of weather, and climate change is going to continue to challenge us. We have to plan properly. We have to design properly. And we also have to look at a 50-year plan, With regards to the reservoirs, right? This is not really the sole purpose. What Gary and I have been talking about is something called river routing, right? The Army Corps of Engineers developed a technique, right, which is called the Muskingum method. We are going to look at an approach where we route our rivers and try to store upstream, because with rainfall intensity, our catchment cannot handle the type of intensity that we're experiencing. So we have to build mass storage. And what we could do with that also is use some of that water, right, as strategic reserves. So during droughted conditions, we don't have to say, well, half of the country has no water, or the plant in Point Lisa, they have to do a fit out, right? And they have to do, to repair something there, or something is down, right? We could have strategic reserves. We could build better plants. We could build plants that could address the drinking water quality, right? Where people don't have to buy bottled water anymore, right? Remember long ago, before bottled water came about, what do you guys used to do? We used to drink the tap water, right?
Yep.
So what happened then?
And river water.
Did the water got so contaminated that we can't do that anymore, right?
Okay.
Did our are our aquifers contaminated? The aquifers are fine, right? We have to look at good, clean sources of raw water, right? And we have to build our treatment plants to meet, I would want to say, US EPA standards for water quality, for potable drinking water, right? But that is a work in progress. But we also have to think strategically. With climate change, things are continuing to evolve. And we're going to be challenged down the road 10, 20, 30 years from now. So HDPE pipe is something to look at, right? It flexes, we could bury it at any level, and it will help with all these leaks, all these leaking pipes and excavating and digging up the roads and stuff, right? Every Monday morning, you see WASA excavating a brand new road that's just paved, right? So that is something that we also have to address, because I don't know if it's deliberate or what, but in the States here, we don't see people digging up pipes here all over the road, right? Like we do in Trinidad. So something is clearly wrong there. and that could be easily fixed.
I thought it was the nature of the soil, really, but it is not.
Well, no, here's what. When you bury piping or you put piping, you don't put it back in the same soil, right? There's a guideline, there's a design guideline for how you place that. You compact the base, you put sand fill around it, granular fill, and so forth, right? You don't just put it back in clay, and stuff like this that could cause heaving and stuff. But that's all designed, it's all engineered, But again, when you don't hold people accountable for their work, they go out there and they do things halfway and they cut corners. And this is why the quality of work, the project suffers, right? Because there's no accountability. People are accepting work that's substandard, right? And then the taxpayers have to go and pay to get it repaired or remediated. So these are the type of wastage that we have to look at with our projects and have some level of accountability and transparency and be able to hold people accountable. Like someone was telling me the other day in a different chat group, they could use why don't the commissioner of police use an e-pen to just sign away all these FULs? Here's the thing: what if the e-pen goes missing one day? All of a sudden, we see 500 applicants signed, and these are people with mental problems, criminal records, etc. Right? And what are we going to actually tell the
the application has to be reviewed, and you have to look. You have to look at what you sign, because you could sign
Definitely.
the wrong.
But again, with an e-pen, an electronic signature, right? What if that goes missing, or somebody has access to it, right? I want to see that FUL application process phased out and be more efficient, right? Where there's a turnaround time. When you file an application, you have at least 2 months or 3 months to get your final response, right? And within that time frame, you fix all of the defects, because it is one of the Prime Minister's initiative to ensure the safety and security of every citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. And we have already finished one of the big hurdles there by implementing and passing that stand your ground legislation. Now we need the second part of that legislation, or that flawed part, which is the FUL process, right? Which would now empower the people or arm the people with their firearms to protect themselves in their homes. We are not trying to create
outside your home too. Outside your home, you get involved outside your gate. You're in a place of business on the street. They could take you anywhere. So it can't be restricted to
anywhere, because the amount of guns we have in Trinidad and Tobago, I mean, it's astounding to think about it. Almost everybody has a gun in Trinidad and Tobago, right? An illegal gun.
But you don't see the fuss. You don't see the fuss about the people who run around the country with as Prakash said, military grade machine guns. You've seen the riot about people who trying to get a pistol permit to defend themselves. So I mean, where is your your loyalty to? You're exposing yourself right there with these politicians.
Yeah. And Gary, you know what? Are we going to be a nation of sitting ducks and wait for these bandits to come into our homes and violate us and our families? Right? I say no to that. Right? And I'm strongly going to stand up against that. Right? We have to arm our citizens. They have to be well trained and be able to protect themselves and their families. Right? And again, if we come together as a country, law-abiding citizens, we will turn it around. We could turn it around. There's hope, right? We have the government in place right now. We have everyone pulling their weight from all different ministries to get it done. I think it's going to get done, right? But we have to continue to revise our plan. We have to assess. We have to measure the performance moving forward.
So here's a question I have for you again, but I would have been better for Prakash to answer. But you could because
I'm going to bring it back. I just have to sort out the technical things.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason why we want our people to be armed to protect themselves is because nobody is protecting them, insufficiently protecting them. If this current government, which I think they can, could really reduce the crime to such an extent that home invasion gets close to zero, do you still need FUL license for all these people? Because the government, right now, as it is, the answer is yes. But down the road, if this government continues for 15 years, I could see crime go back to where it used to be in the 1960s or wherever. And therefore, if the police and whoever could protect us, who are being paid to protect us, there's no need for I to protect myself because I'm well protected by those who are getting paid so to do. Does that make sense or no?
Dr.
Well, we have to deal. Remember, we have to deal. We cannot ignore the fact where the police force is at, where we have seen up to recent where police officers have been arrested and investigated for being involved in kidnapping or robbery or something like that. So that is not a mystery. That is real as the sun is shining. Where we have a situation where the TTPS fell into disrepute, where whether it is poorly managed, poorly supervised, poorly equipped. I mean, you name it. The officers were treated badly far as accommodations and resources. So there's a number of things to fix there.
That is correct, Gary.
Resources, training. A lot. The supervision has to be dealt with. The Commissioner Guevara cannot come and sell us something that is not realistic. As much as he may try to defend the reputation, he has to admit the fact that you have some elements there that has to be flushed out, and you have to get rid of it, and you have to demand accountability on your colleagues, with those working along you in the police administration, that we are really supervising those under us, and we are monitoring things, and we have to get the patrolling to a point where you are really deterring things and not forget solving the crime. The first objective has to be on deterrence. The FUL is a deterrence. Organizing the community is a deterrence. The police patrolling effectively is a deterrence. The effective response, when the criminal gets to see that police is responding so quick and they cannot get away, because the police is organized, and the police is organized with the community, that things are structured so effectively that the criminals would be suppressed with their intention. They would have to reconsider, and that's how you reduce crime. We have to do all the necessary things in tandem with these things: the police, the community, the FUL. We have to apply every restraint, every deterrent you can possibly add, and they could never be enough.
That is correct, Gary. And we have an informal economy that's driving all of this also, that's working against, right, the formal. We have look, in an ideal world, there will be no drugs, there will be no crime, but that does not exist, right? These drug
here in the US,
cartels,
with the best police force we have serious issues that we have to deal with. And when you have to bring the FBI, the DEA, and on different levels of federal enforcement, because either corruption, lack of resources. Look at a township. A township is under so much restraint with a budget that they can only keep a certain amount of officers on patrol. Here in the US, we have issues where insufficient funding. You're not, getting enough funding to keep the amount of officers you may want to have on board. So we do face those challenges here. Also.
but also,
all of these
Gary,
things are taken into consideration.
we have a good system here. When I pick up the phone and I call 911, there's a
An
certain
effective
response
response.
time. There's a
Yeah, and
response time
sometimes,
there.
well, you might
I
get
could
like
get
5 cars pull up.
I could get an ambulance in 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, right? And these are things that we talk about during the town hall meetings, right? If there's a new road or something being built, whatever, how is it going to affect emergency response to my home, right? And so it's well planned. And I want to just step back a bit here. There's no society, nothing is ideal, right? Nothing is perfect. There's always going to be drug traffickers trying to infiltrate and find new routes to bring in drugs. That's a multi-billion-dollar industry. and it's not just going to roll over and die. So they're going to find ways to try to
We have
infiltrate
to
again.
work to curb it, and education, enforcement, and all these things have to work together.
We have to put a management plan in place, a well-vetted management plan to suppress it and keep it at a level where we can manage it. But right now we're dealing with a crisis, right? With home invasions, I mean, homicides are dropping. Hagari had posted a newspaper extract today. We had 333, right? As compared to last year, we were already encroaching on 600. So that's a big, huge impact there and a big plus. But the issue with home invasion, right? That is still a threat there. People are, 6, 7 o'clock, they're locked in their homes, right? Like a bird in a cage. You hear a noise, then you're scared to come outside to see what is it? We have an armed society is a polite society, and that's how I see it, right? You come into my home at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not coming in there for tea and crumpets. I didn't invite you there for that, right? So worse yet, if you're inside my house, I want to be in a position where I could stop that threat there. I'm not going to have the luxury of time to call and wait for the police to get there. What if they don't have a car? The typical thing, all right, we're going to be there in 1 hour. There's no officers on patrol right now or on their way or something. By that time, you're done there already. So
Man, let me tell you something. You and I know a lot could happen in 5 minutes, right?
5 minutes is like a lifetime. In a minute, you're dead. Once those guys get into your house. And also, Gary, not all of the TS Trinidad Police Service are bad. Like some good officers, there's some bad officers. There's some
Well, I'm saying we can't ignore that fact. So we know that, and
so we have to deal with that also. You might see a police officer ringing your doorbell, and you're wondering, hey, what is he doing? Is that a real officer? Is that a fake officer? Right? You have to deal with all these things, and you have to process that now. Now, if someone is thinking, a bandit who got hold of a police officer's uniform, and he's trying to enter your home, right? He's thinking, oh, you know what? This guy's probably an FUL holder. Everybody in this area is an FUL holder. I might have to meet that sort of force, right? Or get set, to have a gunfight. I could get killed. So he may think twice. So it is a deterrent. So Dr. Maharaj, there's nothing is perfect, right? Everything is a work in progress, but we have to put management plans in place to bring it at a level where we can manage it, where we can contain it, right? But to stop it, I don't think we can stop crime. That's in a world that doesn't exist. I mean, there's some European countries where
I can see this UNC government doing a lot of good things in the years to come. That is why that is why we may not need so much firearm in the future, because they have taken care of things. And that is why you cannot do it in 5 years, 10, maybe 20 years.
Right.
We'll get there.
Let's hope we don't need the firearms.
Well,
right? But right now we need it.
I'd rather have it than need it and don't have it.
Look here in the States. Gary, look at here in the United States, right? I live in Florida. I don't see people, you can go out there in a matter of 2 days and get a gun, any type of gun, a AR-15, a handgun, a SIG, or a Glock, whatever it is, right? I don't see people touting around a gun like this kind of thing, But you go into a Walmart, you bump into somebody, or you cut somebody off, or they tell you, sorry, sir, go ahead, no problem. You're very polite, right? You don't know who is carrying a loaded firearm there and who could use it. A lot of people here are military trained, right? A lot of people who are, who've served in the U.S. Army, Navy, Marines, etc., and they know how to use a handgun or a weapon, right? And people where I live in my community are rather very polite, And I think in Trinidad we'll get to that point. We are giving firearms to law-abiding, responsible citizens. They're going to be well vetted. They're not going to be the average person, alcoholic, mental case and whatnot, who could just pull a fire and start shooting like, some of the stuff that we see in Walmart, right? We don't want to have this sort of stuff. We are going to vet the persons who are getting these firearms to ensure that they can be able to use it and protect themselves and their family and their property. And also, if by extension there's an issue and, a robbery and stuff, they could at least fire a shot and chase away the bandits and so forth. And if we work together like that as a community, I think we're going to make big strides moving forward. And I'm very, very
If we
optimistic.
organize ourselves, it may not be necessary to fire a gun, but the actual thing is you have it. And if
Correct,
you
correct.
apply enough restraint, you organize the community effectively to the point, I'm telling you, where the criminals realize, hey, listen, I mean, it will take a few incidents, but they're going to realize, they get the message that, listen, and I have to reconsider what I'm planning or thinking of. And that is the message we want to send there. We want to organize things that they cause them to reconsider. In the meantime, we will work with the community to educate people and make sure they are sufficiently taken care of so they don't have to resort to this kind of hopeless decision thinking, well, and there's no other way for them. So they will get the training that they need and the proper education, and the economy will flow in a way that, they can feel comfortable.
That is correct. And
I hope I hope they are already working on the range, because if you need to train 1,000 people a week, you have to have the training manpower.
I think
You
we
have to
have the
have the
capacity,
range.
man.
They
ranges
have
that can
some
do it.
people there, but I even source a range, very organized range company here in the US, who I know personally, that was offering. I had requested their assistance. I said, should we take government? Would you be willing to assist us? And they said, yes, sure. So a very organized range here in New Jersey that's willing to assist us in Trinidad with the proper training and stuff like that. So, but I mean, there are lots of people, business people there, would want to jump ahead, of things. But I mean, there is people who are already engaged in conversation here. And I'm sure you could find some people in Florida too, or Texas
Yeah,
or
in
whatever.
Florida, I mean, I know some people back home also who have some a good, some good infrastructure and layout and stuff.
Right.
Right in
And
Chaguanas
I mean,
there.
Dr. Ramon goes to a range. He belongs to a club
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just a matter of the resources are here. It's just a matter of willing to engage and include and be inclusive of things there. But
Yeah, but by
we'll
that I
continue
mean,
with those
Gary, that
suggestions.
you cannot ask someone who getting a fuel in Bonas Village or Cedros Icacus to come up to Port of Spain and range in Maraval. There should be all over the place.
he
You
just
should have
has
range, indoor ranges, indoor ranges everywhere.
He just has enough land space to build a range down there if we need to. In fact,
No, they have
I want an
organize
airstrip
the
down
people
there.
you're talking to. The people you're talking to in New Jersey, they have them indoors. You could have indoor places, indoors.
Yeah. A very nice
Indoor,
range
outdoor.
that I go to. Very, I mean, really professional. But the thing about it is, remember I mentioned about decentralization. Now we're only beginning to move in that direction. There's a lot of work to be done yet. So we will make all the recommendations and keep the government reminded of what we are thinking, where we are thinking, and keep at it. And this, like I said, this channel is available to make any points. And Dr. Mirage, you get all the airtime you want. You come back with all those points they have. I mean, I'll give you
Definitely.
a whole night if you want it.
Whole day's night.
Yeah.
My teaching time is 40 minutes. So
all right. So
I don't go beyond that.
So you pick up
after 40 minutes. I done.
Tomorrow night. I got another. Expecting Ken Ali tomorrow night to come.
Okay.
So
I have some questions for him also. I'll check him out. Check him out.
So I'm expecting Ken, and we'll try to get Vade in to come in as Ken is coming.
Nice.
So I will set that up. So
definitely.
So Matt, do you have anything else to add at this point?
No, that's about it. I just look at the news this evening and the laptop distribution, the airfield. I sent you guys a clip for the debate with Sturgeon Scotland.
I saw it in Parliament. I'll play tomorrow night. The link of the thing, because I pulled it up on YouTube here, but I was looking to get the actual video to upload it, and I'm still trying to get pieces of that video where I can upload it, because I gotta find it and reformat it in order to put it on the stream. But I definitely want to get and. Speaking of young people, MP Morris from Mayaru made a dynamic how to say, contribution in the parliament that I'm very impressed with him in that in the what to say, the home invasion bill. You know, he made a very nice contribution that I was very proud to see. So I wanna do that. So we on tomorrow night. We have Ken Ali, and then I would upload some of the other stuff as we get to it.
No problem.
So, gentlemen,
Perfect.
Dr. Mark,
All right. Have a
all
good
right,
night.
anything you want to say, Doc?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks very much. Didn't see you guys for a while, but good to see you again.
Well, we on tomorrow night. So,
Someone didn't sleep tonight. He was okay. But Dr. Orum,
well, he knocked out a few times. He dropped out a few times. So.
No, I was.
No,
Dr.
I was. Got out. He was sleeping. Dr. Orum was supposed to go and rest, which he did, I think. So that was good.
I had to keep on rejoining until I had to go and change my internet speed. And that is what I was doing.
Yeah, we're still not seeing you clear either. You're kind of fuzzy.
Yeah,
Not really
right,
seeing you
right.
clear, but
because by my window, I didn't put on the AC, so I prefer to get the fresh breeze.
Yeah.
All right.
Are you in Trinidad? Where you are in Trinidad?
Yeah, I'm home. My home.
And that's where in South?
South, yeah, Superior Road.
Okay, Superior. Nice place. Yeah, Superior.
Yeah. Well, I also have a home in Tobago, but when I go there, I'll be in Tobago after this. So.
Okay.
So I just want to congratulate seeing some young people making some headway in our Miss World competition here. We're down to 5 candidates, and we have a young man that's missing also. Just want to highlight that so people can keep an eye out for him. With that, I will say good night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
So
good night.
Take care. Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
How do you feel about it, this?
How do I feel about?
The flowers.
I always love flowers. You come to my home. I do my own planting. I do sage, celery, tomato, okra, baigan, and then I do flowers. So that you come, I just love flowers. I thank Yesina so much. I've known Yesina from way back when. Before I became a politician, I pledged to her when you were going to and twice. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. This lady is very powerful, and she's going to make sure Trinidad will be safe, and she will protect all children, all people in Trinidad. Protect me, protect you. She has big blessings, and she has big protection. Nobody can touch her. Anybody who touch her,
Prime Minister, what do you have to say to Venezuelans like Yesina who support what you're doing but who may currently feel uncomfortable right now living in Trinidad, that they will be targeted?
Have you asked her if she's uncomfortable right now? But as I said, she's protected. She's being guarded by the right people. America will protect Trinidad. They will never allow anything bad happen here. No fear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.